Hello, online friends. Welcome to RICAland Sunday Reflections. I am Sister Ding of the Dominican Sisters of Regina, Rosarii. Pilgrims who come at Regina, Rica would usually come in this Lock Your Promise or Pader ng Pangako wall. It is a place wherein they pledge their commitment to their loved ones by locking the padlock and leaving the keys at the feet of Our Lady. Do you remember locking fingers with a friend on a pinky promise? Maybe you pledge to not to share a secret or promise to do something specific. Whatever it was, the symbolism of locking fingers seemed to make the pinky promise to take on a meaning beyond words. But do we really keep our promises? Today's parable is about keeping one's promise or keeping one's words. The parable of the two sons, from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 21, verses 28 to 30. What do you think? There was a man who had two sons. He went first to the first and said, "Son, go and work today in the vineyard." "I will not," he answered. But later he changed his mind and went. Then the father went to the other son and said the same thing. He answered, "I will, sir," but did not go. I find the gospel very familiar since I always encounter similar situations here at Regina, Rica. One time, I requested one of our volunteers to handle the donor's assistance since the person assigned to do the task is not around. She refused, saying that she will go home early. So I let it be and decided to look for another person to handle the job. After some time, an employee called me that our volunteer, who initially refused the task, changed her mind. I think it is very easy for us church people to identify with the first son. At some point in our life, we initially refuse to be part of God's kingdom. We have our own excuses not to get involved in the service of the church. We have our own excuses. Too busy, I still have many plans for my family. Lord, so excuse na muna ha. I am still young, or I am too old. My family is relying on me, and so on and so forth. However, some events in our lives transforms us and lead us back to God. I remember a young doctor who, after 48 hours on duty in the hospital, had an accident. His car nearly hit a family sleeping on a sidewalk. That was his conversion experience. He decided to become a priest after realizing how short life is. He decided to live a life in the service of the kingdom of God. However, we also resemble the second son. Like the second son, we respectfully say or call to God, Lord. But how often do we make insincere promise to God, like those who say, Lord, Lord, but neglect to do God's will? It is easy to think that we are being obedient to God, but actually we are not. It is easy for us to get distracted by all other things going on in life and fail to work in God's vineyard. There are times that we sacrifice kindness in our pursuit to be right. We feel proud of our pious work, yet fail to see that we are doing all this so-called good works for the sake of recognition. We spend time adoring Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, but we left him inside the tabernacle the moment we step out of the chapel. Sometimes we have a split personality. We cry in front of Jesus inside the chapel, but harden our hearts in front of a poor beggar. We must remember that our actions ultimately demonstrate our obedience to God. The parable spoke of the two sons, but there is actually a third son who demonstrates the true and authentic obedience to God. He is Jesus, whose life was an example of the son who obediently worked in the vineyard. Even in the midst of suffering at the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, "Not my will, but your will." Jesus did not merely offer lip service to God. He offered his life in the service by dying on the cross for us. What does it mean to obey our God? To be obedient to God is to ask in every situation, what is the loving thing to do in this particular situation or person in front of me? This requires a lot of awareness of living in the present moment. It is only when we live in the present moment that we are able to see and feel the suffering of another human being. Human as we have the tendency to look at the person or situation through the lenses of our past experiences. Sometimes our lenses are foggy or tinted or broken, so much so that we fail to see the real picture. One of the techniques in photography is to clean first the lenses before taking pictures. The challenge for us, my dear online friends, is how to clear our lenses. Spend time focusing on God in contemplative prayer so that we may be able to see through the lenses of God's eyes. Contemplative prayer also helps clear our sense of hearing to the voice of God, whose language is silence. We can't obey God until we first listen to His word. So that's it, my dear friends. Have a blessed Sunday. May you find time to see and hear God's voice and keep your promise to Him. Thank you very much. God bless you. Please don't forget to share this video to your family and friends. And see you in my next video.